Hello guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Give me a second, let me just fix this real quick. Let me just scale that down a bit. Let me just move this down there. Alright. So, welcome back to a brand new video. Before I start, I just want to say please consider subscribing. And because new videos will be coming out soon. Alright, so today we are going to be reading chapter 2 of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I didn't make a video of this yesterday because yesterday was my birthday. I'm 17 now. So, yeah. So, last we left off where Lucy first entered the wardrobe. So, yeah. So, here we go. Chapter 2, what Lucy found there. What she found in the wardrobe in Narnia. Good evening, said Lucy, but the fawn was so busy picking up his parcels, and that at first it did not reply. When it had finished, it made her a little bow. Good evening, said the fawn. Excuse me, I don't want to extinguish, I don't know if it's inquisitive, but I be right in thinking that you are a daughter of Eve. My name's Lucy, said she, not quite understanding him. But you are, forgive me, you are what they call a girl? Asked the fawn. Of course I'm a girl, said Lucy. You are in fact human. Of course I'm human, said Lucy, still a little puzzled. To be sure, said the fawn. How stupid of me, but I've never seen a certain Adam, or a daughter of Eve before. I'm delighted, that is to say. And then it stopped as if it had been going to say something it had not intended, but had remembered in time. Delighted, it went on. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Tumnus. I am very pleased to meet you, Mr. Tumnus, said Lucy. And may I ask, Lucy, daughter of Eve, said Mr. Tumnus, how have you come into Narnia? Narnia? What's that? Said Lucy. This is the land of Narnia, said the fawn, where we are now, and that lies between the lamppost and the great castle of Cair Paravel on the eastern sea. And you have come from the wild woods of the west. I got in through the wardrobe in the spare room, said Lucy. Ah, said Mrs. Tennyson, rather I don't know how to say the word, melancholy voice. If only I had worked harder at the geography when I was a little fawn, I should no doubt know all about the strange countries. It is too late now. But there aren't countries at all, said Lucy, almost laughing. It's only just back there at the least. I'm not sure. It is summer there. Meanwhile, said Mr. Tumnus, it is winter in Narnia and has been for so long, and we shall both catch cold if we stand here talking in the snow. Daughter Eve, from the far land of Spare where eternal summer reigns, around the bright city of Wardrobe, how would you be if you came and had tea with me? Thank you very much, Mr. Tumnus, said Lucy, but I was wondering whether I ought to be getting back. It's only just round the corner, said the fawn, and there'll be a roaring fire, and toast, and sardines, and cake. Well, that's very kind of you, said Lucy, but I shan't be able to stay long. If you will take my arm, daughter Eve, said Mrs. Tumnus, I shall be able to hold the umbrella over both of us. That's the way. Now off we go. And so Lucy found herself walking through the wood arm in arm, with the strange creature, as if they had known one another all their lives. They had not gone far because they came to a place where the ground became rough in there, where were rocks all about, and little hills up, and little hills down. At the bottom of one small valley, Mr. Tumnus turned suddenly aside as if he were going to walk straight into an unusually large rock. But at the last moment Lucy found he was leading her into the entrance of a cave, and soon they were inside. She found herself blinking in the light of a wood fire. Then Mr. Tumnus stopped and took a flaming piece of wood out of the fire with a neat little pair of tongs, and lit a lamp. "Now we shan't be long," he said, and mentally put a kettle on. Lucy thought she had never been in a nicer place. It was a little dry, clean cave of reddish stone with a carpet on the floor and two little chairs. "One for me and one for a friend," said Mr. Tumnus, "and a table and a dresser and a mantel placed over the fire, and above that a picture of an old faun with a grey beard in one corner." There was a door which Lucy thought must lead to Mr. Tumnus' bedroom, and on one wall was a shelf full of books. Lucy looked at all these while he was setting out the tea things. They had titles like the life of letters of Silenus, or nymphs of their ways or men, monks and gamekeepers, a study in popular legend, or is man a myth? "Now, daughter, read," said the faun. And really it was a wonderful tea. Wait, I think I might have skipped a page 1 second. Nope, I didn't. And really it was a wonderful tea. There was a nice brown egg lightly boiled for each of them, and then sardines on toast, and then tare toast, and then toast with honey, and then a sugar-topped cake. And when Lucy was tired of eating, the faun began to talk. Had he wonderful tales to tell of life in the forest. He told about the midnight dances, and how the nymphs who lived in the wells and the dryads who lived in the trees came out to dance with the fauns, about long hunting parties after the milk white stag who could give you wishes if you caught him, and feasting and treasure-seeking with the wild red dwarfs in deep mines and caverns far beneath the forest floor. And then about summer, when the books were green, and old Silliness on his fat donkey would come to visit them, and sometimes Bacchus himself. And when the streams would run with wine instead of water, and the whole forest would give itself up to jollification for weeks on end. Now that it isn't always winter now," he added gloomily. Then to cheer himself he took out from its case on the dresser a strange little flute that looked as if it were made of straw, and began to play. And the tune he played made Lucy want to cry and laugh and dance and go to sleep, all at the same time. It must have been hours later when she took herself and said, "Oh, Mr. Tumnus, I'm sorry to stop you, and I do love that tune, but really I must go home. I only meant to stay a few minutes. It's no good now, you know," said the faun, laying down his flute and shaking his head at her very sorrowfully. "No good," said Lucy, jumping up and feeling rather frightened. "What do you mean? I got to go home at once. The others will be wondering what happened to me." A moment later she asked Mrs. Tumnus whatever is the matter, for the fawn's brown eyes had filled with tears, and then the tears began trickling down its cheeks, and soon they were running off to the end of its nose. Give me a second, guys. Okay. And at last it covered its face with its hands and began to howl. Mr. Tumnus," said Lucy in great distress. Don't, what is the matter? Aren't you well? Dear Mr. Tumnus, do tell me what's wrong." But the fawn continued sobbing, as if its heart would break. And even when Lucy went over to put her hands around him, and lent him her handkerchief, he did not stop. He merely took the handkerchief and kept on using it, wringing it out with both hands, whenever it got too wet, to be even more use, so that presently Lucy was standing in a damp patch. "Mr. Tumnus," spelled Lucy in his ear, shaking him. Do stop at once. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, a great big fawn like you. What on earth are you crying about?" Oh, sobbed Mr. Tumnus. "I'm crying because I'm such a bad fawn." "I don't think you're a bad fawn at all," said Lucy. "I think you are a very good fawn. You are the nicest fawn I have ever met." Oh, you wouldn't say that if you knew," replied Mr. Tumnus between his sobs. "No, I'm a bad fawn. I don't suppose there ever was a worse fawn since the beginning of the world." "But what have you done?" asked Lucy. "My old father now," said Mrs. Tumnus. "That's his picture over at the mantel-place. He would have never have done a thing like this." "A thing like what?" said Lucy. "Like what I've done," said the fawn. "Taken service under the White Witch. That's what I am. I'm in pay of the White Witch." "The White Witch? Who is she?" Why it is she that got all Narnia under her thumb. It's she that makes it always winter and never Christmas. Think of that." "How awful," said Lucy. "But what does she pay you for?" "That's the worst of it," said Mr. Tumnus, with a deep groan. "I'm a kidnapper for her. That's what I am. Look at me, daughter of Eve. Would you believe that I'm a sort of fawn, to meet a poor innocent child in the wood, one that would have never done me any harm, and pretend to be friendly with it, and invite it home to my cave for all the sake and lulling it asleep, and then handing it over to the White Witch?" "No," said Lucy, "I'm sure you wouldn't do any of the sort." "But I have," said the fawn. "Well," said Lucy slowly, for she wanted to be truthful, and yet not too hard on him. "Well, that was pretty bad, but you're so sorry for it, that I'm sure you will never do it again." "Daughter Eve, don't you understand?" said the fawn. "It isn't something I have done. I'm doing it now, this very moment." "What do you mean?" cried Lucy, turning very white. "You are the child," said Tumnus. I had orders from the White Witch. If ever I saw a son of Adam or a daughter of Eve in the wood, I was to catch them and hand them over to her. And you are the first I have ever met, and I've pretended to be your friend and asked you to tea, and all the time I've been meaning to wait till you were asleep and go and tell her." "Oh, but you won't, Mr. Tumnus," said Lucy. "You won't, will you? Indeed you really mustn't." "And if I don't," said he, beginning to cry again, "she's sure to find out, and she'll have my tail cut off, and my horns shorn off, and my beard plucked out, and she'll wave her hand over my beautiful cloven hoofs and turn them into horrid solid hooves, like a wretched horse's. And if she is extra and specially angry, she'll turn me into stone, as I shall be only a statue of a fawn, in her horrible house until the 4 thrones at Cair Paravel are filled. And goodness knows when that will happen, or whether it will ever happen at all." "I'm very sorry, Mr. Tumnus," said Lucy, "but please let me go home." "Of course I will," said the fawn. "Of course. I've got to go. I see that now. I hadn't known what humans were like before I met you. Of course I can't give you up to the White Witch, not now, that I know you. But we mustn't be off at once. I'll see you back at the lamp post. I suppose you can find your own way from there back to Spare Room and Wardrobe." I'm sure I can," said Lucy. "We must go as quietly as we can," said Mr. Tumnus. "The whole wood is full of her spies. Even some of the trees are on her side." They both got up and left the tea things on the table, and Mr. Tumnus once put up his umbrella and gave Lucy his arm, and then went out into the snow. The journey back was not at all like the journey of the Fawn's cave. They stole along as quickly as they could, without speaking a word, and Mr. Tumnus kept to the darkest places. Lucy was relieved when they reached the lamp-post again. "Do you know your way back from here, daughter of Eve?" said Mr. Tumnus. Lucy looked very hard between the trees, and could just see the distance a path of the light that looked like daylight. "Yes," she said, "I can see the wardrobe door." Then be off as quick as you can," said the Fawn. "And can you forgive me for what I meant to do?" "Why, of course I can," said Lucy, shaking him heartily by the hand. "And I do hope you won't get into dreadful trouble on my account." "Farewell, daughter of Eve," said he. "Perhaps I may keep the handkerchief?" "Rather," said Lucy, and then ran toward the far-off patch of daylight as quickly as her legs would carry her. And presently, instead of rough branches brushing past her, she felt coats, and instead of crunching snow under her feet, she felt wooden boards. And all at once she found herself jumping out of the wardrobe into the same empty room from which the whole adventure had started. She shut the wardrobe door slightly behind her and looked around, panting her breath. It was still raining, and she could hear the voices of the others in the passage. "I'm here," she said. "I'm here. I've come back. I'm all right." And that is the end of that chapter. Alright. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. And if you guys did enjoy it, please consider leaving a thumbs up. I appreciate that. And consider subscribing as well. And like and share this video with all your friends and family. I'm sure they would like it. But yep, other than that, that's all I have for today. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.